Drink with the Rav Hosts drink, Soldier Fuel.
Let's go.
The Charlie Kirk Show starts now.
Our First Lady Melania is here. Look at Melania, so beautiful. Mrs. Trump, you have a glow like an expectant widow. You know how sometimes you wake up in the morning and the First Lady puts out a statement demanding you be fired from your job? We've all been there, right? You've been there, right, Guillermo? Yeah, sure. What a day.
Large-scale raids targeting federal fraud currently underway. Federal agents seen leaving the Quality Learning Center. And Brooke Taylor has more on that and what they're looking for. Brooke, good morning.
Hi, Bill. Good morning. Yeah, we have had a photographer there at the daycare since this morning, capturing video of those federal agents just going in and out of the building, collecting evidence as part of the DOJ's fraud investigation in Minnesota. Take a look at this video here. Sources tell Fox that federal agents are raiding about 22 businesses across Minneapolis this morning, and sources say many of them are tied to Somali-owned operations. All of this comes after that viral YouTube video from Nick Shirley. It was back in December. In that video, he visited different child care centers, and you'll remember they were either closed or there were just no children inside, despite receiving state child care funding. Now, the location that you're looking at right now, it's the Quality Learning Center. This is the daycare. It went viral. It blew up on social media because of a sign outside with learning that was literally misspelled.
Former top advisor to Dr. Anthony Fauci now facing criminal charges. This over an alleged cover-up involving research into the origins of COVID. Rich Edson on this story. Intriguing, Rich. What you find out there in Washington?
Now, it is, Bill. The Justice Department has charged David Morins, a doctor, with conspiracy, claiming he concealed federal records to counter evidence that COVID-19 may have leaked from a lab in China, all to help restore a controversial coronavirus grant. Morins, a former aide to Dr. Anthony Fauci, testified before the House's COVID Select Subcommittee nearly 2 years ago about emails he'd sent in February 2021, claiming that he'd learned to make emails disappear after he received Freedom of Information Act requests.
Ever delete or attempt to delete a federal record?
No, but let me explain why. When I came there in 1998, we were instructed to delete emails or to move them into PST files frequently because they jammed the computer.
The Justice Department says Morins used his personal Gmail account to exchange non-public information. The indictment also claims an unnamed co-conspirator gave Morins wine for his, quote, behind-the-scenes shenanigans, then suggested he could push scientific commentary in a prominent medical journal advocating that COVID-19 had natural origins. That's a competing claim with the lab leak theory. The indictment says the co-conspirator could also provide meals at top restaurants in Paris, New York, and Washington, D.C. In April 2020, the NIH terminated that back coronavirus grant awarded to EcoHealth Alliance, who then contracted the Wuhan Institute of Virology to conduct that research in China. From the start of the pandemic, its president, Peter Daszak, worked to discredit any theory that COVID-19 had leaked from that lab.
There was a moment with John Fetterman and Erica that I heard about where, he was pretty emotional and he just apologized for whatever he could. I mean, he didn't need to, but it was there were glimmers of hope, and that was after everything happened. Wow. An emotional moment, and good for John Fetterman. That's a real moment. So
I tell you, I've reached out to John Fetterman a couple of times just to say, we don't agree on a lot of stuff, but you have been a remarkable man and very, very brave. He's going to be president. He will never win again. And it's interesting to me that somebody who just says common sense stuff, that is a Democrat, who doesn't agree with me. I mean, I'm not going to vote for John Fetterman, but who is just a Democrat, is so chased out of their own party. They can't have anybody who is at all not a radical. They must have radicals in there. And that's the number one thing. Democrats, you're not an innocent bystander at this point.
My paycheck was just deposited into my Greenlight account.
Greenlight is so convenient. You know, we had to use a vacuum tube.
You did it, Rav audience. High Rez's God Bless America hit #1.
Numero uno.
And it's all because of you showing up, downloading, and making some serious noise.
Anybody who downloaded High Rez's new single on Real America's Music is going to get that hat right there.
And hey, promises made, promises kept. If you grabbed the song and sent in your address and receipt, your free, exclusive Rav hat is officially on the way. Yep, we're packing them up right now and shipping them out all across America. This is what happens when this audience gets behind something. Nobody does it like you. So when that hat lands, throw it on, grab your phone, and show it off. Post a pic or video, tag Real America's Voice, use the hashtag RAM, and you might just see yourself shouted out on air. Thank you for making God Bless America #1. Let's keep it rolling.
When it's breaking,
we're moving.
Breaking news.
Breaking news. News doesn't sleep. At Real America's Voice, we don't get to crash or lose focus. That's why we drink Soldier Fuel to stay ahead of the chaos, because we do this for you.
So good.
Soldier Fuel has no sugar, so no crash.
Now that's a game changer.
I'm fueled up now. Woo!
Used by the U.S. military every day. Now available to you.
This is huge.
Built by pay.
Coming from every angle with the will to deceive. Fear not. You found the place for truth. The voice of a generation that still has the will to believe in the greatest country in the history of the world. This is the Charlie Kirk Show. Buckle up. Here we go.
All right, welcome to the Charlie Kirk Show. It's April 28th, 2026. We are here at the Y-Refi studio in Phoenix, Arizona. Let me get centered up. Y-Refi, great folks, great people, great company. Check them out today. Blake, how are we doing?
We're doing spectacular today.
Well, I agree, because we had one mission today. One mission was to figure out a way to seamlessly include a months-old clip of Ilhan Omar misreading World War II as World War XI, and boom, presto, yeah,
the vice president himself delivered.
The vice president, J.D. Vance himself, has delivered the perfect tie-in, and the tie-in is that there are DOJ-led raids happening in Minneapolis, Minnesota, targeting fraud. Now, these are not DHS raids. This is not an ICE raid. These are Department of Justice-led raids, the FBI, on a crackdown of mostly Somali-run companies in the Minneapolis area that have been defrauding U.S. taxpayers. So we'll just give you a quick little summary right here. SOP 41.
Large-scale raids targeting federal fraud currently underway. Federal agents seen leaving the Quality Learning Center.
Federal agents just going in and out of the building, collecting evidence as part of the DOJ's fraud investigation in Minnesota. Take a look at this video here. Sources tell Fox that federal agents are raiding about 22 businesses across Minneapolis this morning, and sources say many of them are tied to Somali-owned operations.
Somali-run operations. The weirdest part about that whole clip is that it feels weird to call it the Quality Learning Center.
It's not the name. Yeah,
but it's not the name.
Yeah.
The name has now become the Quality Learning Center. If you are going to create a company that says you are a quality learning center and you misspell the word learning, there's more than a few layers of weirdness there, of irony. And so the Quality Learning Center is one of the 20 locations that have been raided in Minneapolis. But this is what's great about this. And I want to give a massive hat tip to the vice president here, because this was a portfolio item, domestic focus. It's after what happened with Nick Shirley, who we've had on the show a couple of times. Actually, Blake just interviewed him in Phoenix not too long ago. This was a moment that the administration could capitalize on. So, right, we've got all these distractions abroad, foreign, all this stuff. He's meeting with the King of England, King Charles, today, which actually will be a very interesting story, and I want to get into it in a bit. But you've got all of this going on internationally, and the base is desperate for domestic wins. They want something done here at home. They want to see their tax dollars be protected. They want to see the border closed. They want to see accountability in COVID. They want to see accountability for the Russia hoax. They want all of that, right? And we've got news on that too, by the way.
Yeah,
on the COVID stuff.
This is all the flip side of basically the border. That everyone saw foreigners flooding into the U.S. under Biden, under every prior administration, just being given free housing, a free trip to basically whatever city.
They got a better deal than Americans.
On the flip side, they've also seen there's a sense America's got scams going on everywhere. You can go to any downtown and you see a lot of businesses that are very consistently in the same handful of industries. You very rarely see activity at them. In Minneapolis, it's famously daycares. In Los Angeles, it's famous hospices. In New York, they have these kind of senior activity adult daycare centers. That's a big scam that I'm sure the vice president will look into. And all of this is happening around the country. Everyone's got the sense if you're in basically a foreign immigrant group that's clannish, doesn't talk to the police that much, you can get infinity money from the government because nobody's checking it. Now the vice president is checking it.
Well, and so I want to just assure you guys. So if you're J.D. Vance, all right, you've got, let's just understand the dynamic. So J.D. is in a situation where he's now publicly, because of the New York Times article, he's sort of put himself in a position of being against foreign intervention, okay? That puts him at a little bit of odds with the president right now because the president made the decision to go into Iran. So if you're kind of assessing how to best manage the portfolio that you've been given, you want to go all in on this fraud thing. And I think JD sees this as a massive opportunity to push deep into an area that is of great concern to the American voters, especially the conservative base. And I love that he's sinking his teeth in. He is absolutely going full bore ahead because it's like every week there's a new announcement. So, for example, we've got also previously, I want to make sure I get the clips just right. I think this was last week, if not 10 days ago, the Vice President Vance that the anti-fraud task force that he chairs suspended 447 hospice providers and 23 home health agencies in Los Angeles alone. The total fraud by these particularly fake providers is estimated to be over $600 million. So he's got the Leering Center now on his list and working with the DOJ and the FBI. And by the way, his urgency, his leadership is so critical in this way. Then they announced that they're looking at $2 trillion in Medicare and Medicaid. They're going through it all. $2 trillion, $101 billion of SNAP benefits, $100 billion in the SBA loans, $64 billion in public housing, $43.5 billion in unemployment insurance, $16 billion in the Needy Families Program. It doesn't mean that some of the people receiving these benefits are not worthy. It's not legit. Some of them might be exactly who we're trying to help. But there is a lot of fraud in there. And I love that we are seeing updates week by week. And we're not just seeing updates. We're seeing video of raids happening at the Quality Leering Center now in Somalia.
And there's
this
so
is what
much,
we need.
There's so much stuff to dig into. Stuff that like flashes by as a headline and then you forget about. So you mentioned like SNAP, for example. And I saw a stat the other day. In 2000, about 3% of Massachusetts children were on SNAP. Now it's 15%. And another thing, another one of those communities that's tied to a lot of fraud claims, there was a grocery store run by Haitians in Massachusetts where it was just entirely a SNAP-based fraud operation. And one of the things they were literally doing is they were importing food aid that had been sent to Haiti back into the United States so that could hawk it to get SNAP fraud. There's so many of these things. It's such low-hanging fruit.
It's
for the government to go after. And it's a good win, and it's a good way to communicate the idea that this administration is focused on ordinary Americans, focused on breaking apart the many, many, many ways that American life feels like a scam today. Like you're a sucker if you just pay your taxes,
by the rules.
Follow the law.
So what we want is an America where everybody wants to play by the rules because they know if they break the law, if they try and defraud taxpayers and scam the system, they are going to be held accountable, and everybody buys in. That's what you want. But you don't buy in when somebody else is getting a free ride. You don't do it. Because all of a sudden you're like, well, how come I'm putting myself through all of this hell? I shouldn't. You know what? The system is rigged against me. I should rip it off. That's what Hassan Piker and the likes of them want you to believe. Guess what? There is good when you put off your satisfaction, when you have delayed gratification, when you save your money, when you work hard, when you raise your family, when you do things the right way, when you love your God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength. When you do things right, you should be rewarded in America. That's the deal. That's the compact. Let's get back to that. That's why I love this story so much. And again, bravo to J.D. Vance for leading the charge. His leadership, I want you to understand, is so critically important. It makes the whole government roll out like a red carpet in front of him. So it's super, super important that he's taking the lead here. All right, I want to tell you about Strong Cell.
Gotta hand me one.
There you go, Blake. There's your right there. StrongCell.com. Get yours today. This stuff is amazing. I wake up in the morning now, and this has been my biggest thing. I used to wake up and I'd feel a little bit lethargic. I wake up now and I'm like ready. And the longer I take it, the better it gets. So give it a try yourself. StrongCell.com, NADH. It's the power source for the cells in your body. You used to have to get an IV in your arm, pay hundreds of dollars at the clinic. No longer. You just wake up like I do, take one of these or take it during the show. I do it for the show. So I would have taken it when I woke up, but I do it during the show. Go to StrongCell.com, 20% off. You use the promo code Charlie, get a 90-day risk-free money-back guarantee. StrongCell.com, promo code Charlie. Check it out.
Hey folks, it's your friend John Rich. I co-founded Old Glory Bank because we heard too many stories about.
You did it, Rav audience. High Rez's God Bless America hit #1.
Numero uno.
And it's all because of you showing up, downloading, and making some serious noise.
Anybody who downloaded High Rez's new single on Real America's Music is going to get that hat right there.
And hey, promises made, promises kept. If you grabbed the song and sent in your address and receipt, your free, exclusive Rav hat is officially on the way. Yep, we're packing them up right now and shipping them out all across America. This is what happens when this audience gets behind something. Nobody does it like you. So when that hat lands, throw it on, grab your phone, and show it off. Post a pic or video, tag Real America's Voice, use the hashtag RAM, and you might just see yourself shouted out on air. Thank you for making God Bless America #1. Let's keep it rolling.
When it's breaking,
we're moving.
Breaking news.
Breaking news. News doesn't sleep. At Real America's Voice, we don't get to crash or lose focus. That's why we drink Soldier Fuel to stay ahead of the chaos, because we do this for you.
So good.
Soldier Fuel has no sugar, so no crash.
Now that's a game changer.
I'm fueled up now. Woo!
Used by the U.S. military every day. Now available to you.
This is huge.
Built by Patriots for Patriots.
Now it's time for you to do the Soldier Fuel Challenge. Order Soldier Fuel, film yourself cracking one open, and taking the Soldier Fuel Challenge. Upload your video at soldierfuel.com/challenge, and you'll be entered to win a free shipment of Soldier Fuel.
That's what I'm talking about.
Your video could also be featured on air. Just scan the QR code on your screen or go to soldierfuel.com/challenge to enter. Drink what the Rav hosts drink. Soldier Fuel.
Let's go.
My name is Phoebe, and I live in Florida. I love Real America's Voice. They truly speak for the people, and that's what real patriotism is all about.
Hello, all you Ravagers. I'm Billy Howell, your old buddy Carefree Largo from the chat, and I'm thrilled to be part of the Rav family. When I want to be heard, I use my Real America's Voice.
Hello, this is Kurt. Why do I love Rav? If you ever talk to the hosts, you can do that on Rav. And the Rav family, they'll talk back to you too. Let you know what's going on. Take care.
All right, welcome back to the Charlie Kirk Show. I want to tell you guys about Y-Refi. We love our friends over at Y-Refi. They are great patriots, great Americans, and they're helping students. There's just no doubt. There's so many of these shysters out there And then you compare that with what YRefi does when they help students out with the distressed or defaulted student loans, and it's night and day. I mean, these guys do it the right way. They care about people. This is not some, I don't know. I was exposed to one of these yesterday, and I just was like, man, thank God for YRefi. Anyways, but they also have another side of their business. So if you're an accredited investor, you can earn up to 10.25%, and that interest rate is fixed. Also, you can invest from 1 to 5 years, and you can spread your investment over those terms to best suit your needs. So it's maximum flexibility. What's also great is when you invest in YRefi, your interest is fixed. You can spread your money out over the years how you want, but then your interest is calculated daily, and you can also invest it back in, or take it off as profit. So they pay you out monthly, and you can do whatever you want with that money. So maximum flexibility and transparency. So that's the kind of benefits of their investment vehicle. For more information, call 877-80-INVEST. That's 877-80-INVEST. Or visit them at investyrrefi.com, investyrrefi.com. Check out that QR code right there. For complete details, make sure to review the private placement memorandum and view the disclosures at your leisure. All you have to do is scan that QR code. So I'm going to wait. 3, 2, you got to scan the QR code to check out those details. YRefi, investing in America's future. All right. So again, I started the show saying we were looking for an excuse to play the Ilhan Omar clip, because as you know, World War II can be written in different ways. Sometimes you'll see it World War and the numeral 2. Sometimes you'll see just like LL, basically. Roman numerals, right, of the 2. And so this clip was unearthed from months ago. We somehow missed it. And then somebody unearthed it, and it went viral again. And we thought, what the heck? What a great opportunity to absolutely troll one of the worst members of Congress, who should not be in Congress, who deserves to be expelled from Congress, who hates the country, who is an ingrate, Ilhan the ingrate Omar, who is living here high on the hog off of American generosity, and she despises us for it. So, let's just play the clip. What is the clip, by the way? Do you have the number? I got ahead of myself.
It is 43.
43.
I want to thank my partner in this, Senator Hirono, for her leadership in this work to repeal the outdated and dangerous Alien Enemies Act of 1798. The last time the Alien Enemies Act was invoked, it was used to detain and deport German, Japanese, Italian immigrants during World War XI.
It's so great. What's so great is she even pauses briefly, like something's a little weirder, and then forges ahead. She does correct. If you watch the full clip, she corrects herself shortly after, but it doesn't really matter that much. Flubbing World War II as World War XI should not happen, but you can see how it happens because she's basically just reading it word by word off the paper.
It's a full Anchorman moment.
She doesn't know what she's talking about, such that she could ad-lib on the fly, where you should just know, German, Italian, Japanese, that means World War II. Doesn't know that, doesn't register in her mind.
And some people, some of the crass commentators online are going to make references to IQ rates in Somalia, and we're not going to go there, okay? That's not what we're saying.
Okay,
we're just saying that Ilhan Omar is ill-equipped and ill-suited to be serving in Congress, an illustrious, prestigious post, and she should be dealt with swiftly. I did ask, it reminded me of this clip, we asked James Comer, who is the chair of House Oversight, briefly about this, because I don't know if anybody in the audience has been paying attention, but there's been a slew of departures from the House because of ethics complaints. SOP 48. Well, again, thank you for leading the charge here, Congressman. It's great to see you again. Come back soon. The House Oversight, powerful role. You guys got all kinds of stuff going on this week, by the way. You're voting to kick out congressmen left and right, and I'm kind of here for it. If you have an update on Ilhan Omar, let me know, sir.
Well, she's in a lot of trouble, and we're doing everything we can to drain the swamp.
So
she's in a lot of trouble.
We can hope. I mean, there's a lot of things that could get at. The classic story with Omar, of course, is her alleged, seems more likely than not, incestuous marriage to her brother, for those who've forgotten that one, that was all uncovered by those fellows at Powerline blog who we've had on here. And this is apparently big, I don't even want to say urban legend, it's a big story within the Somali community in Minneapolis, because Omar, she had this long religious marriage only within her community and was never legal with Ahmed Hersi. That appears to have been normal religious Islamic marriage. They had several children. Then they separated, and she legally, but not religiously, married this fellow Ahmed Nur Saeed Elmi, who was a British national who came to the U.S. to attend college. But the claim is that if you just look at his name, basically he just is her brother. And then they ended up in different countries because they were in refugee camps in Somalia, a very long story. And apparently the claim is she would have just had a fake marriage with him to get better housing at the University of North Dakota. And it's so comical because the Star Tribune, the Washington Post, they'll do these fake investigations where they'll just go, well, Omar says it didn't happen and we don't have records from Somalia, so there's just no way to check. It's just not possible.
But yet we should just let these people into our... Okay, regardless if it's true or not, Blake, the fact that they are saying there aren't enough record keeping in Somalia to prove it one way or the other is actually Exhibit A of why we shouldn't be letting these people into our country. If you are from a country that can't even manage your own books, you can't record keep, I don't care. I don't want you here because I don't know you. And matter of fact, that goes for a lot of different countries, by the way. And good on the Trump administration. We talked about the fraud win. We can talk about the immigration win. There's a lot of countries that are basically been put on the blacklist that they are not allowed into the country. So these things are happening quietly behind the scenes. So for all you accelerationists out there that just want to burn it all down, well, listen, we're stopping a lot of this stuff before it gets here now. And that didn't happen before, and it won't happen if you have a Democrat at the highest office.
And there's more we should find. We'd be remiss if we wouldn't mention, and this might have even been what Comer was talking about, Ilhan Omar's also got sketchy financial stuff right now. Why wouldn't she? She, as reported in the Wall Street Journal, she recently revised her net worth down from $30 million to under $100,000. And she and her husband said, oh, yeah, that was an error by our accountant. Yeah, my accountant makes $30 million errors in one's net worth all the time.
That totally sounds like you have a Somali fraudster accountant that conveniently did some cooking of the books there for you. And I think the lady doth protest too much, because now if you're worth $100,000 and you're married to this guy and he's like a finance guy, now I'm just judging you for being terrible at your job, terrible at your business. Once again, you shouldn't be here if you're that bad at business. Anyway,
not sending their best.
Well, we're going to pivot in the next segment to talk about the Kimmel controversy with a lead aide for Melania Trump. Don't get anywhere. We'll be right back.
Did you know that thousands of authors across the country have written books and published them with page?
When it's breaking,
we're moving.
Breaking news.
Breaking news. News doesn't sleep. At Real America's Voice, we don't get to crash or lose focus. That's why we drink Soldier Fuel and take Go Pills to stay ahead of the chaos, because we do this for you.
Go Pills and Soldier Fuel locked in.
Go Pills are packed with neurotransmitter support. Soldier Fuel has no sugar, so no crash.
Now that's a game changer.
Mic on, lights up. Soldier Fuel keeps me dialed right in.
Both are used by the U.S. military every day.
Built by Patriots for Patriots.
And they're now available to you.
This is huge.
Scan the QR codes below and order your supply today.
Hear that pop? So good.
Go to buysoldierfuel.com or search on Amazon.
This is performance fuel. Clean energy, sharp mind. That's how we do it at RAV.
Visit buygopills.com and get 15% off automatically.
Go Pills and Soldier Fuel.
Let's go.
Through every storm, every moment of uncertainty,
everybody needs to pray for Charlie Kirk right now.
RAV has stood strong.
We're not going to tolerate this stuff anymore.
Turn that anger into motivation to save this nation.
When we move together, there is power.
The cries of this widow will echo like a battle cry.
This is more than news. It's a movement.
This revolution of people taking their countries back.
A turning point. A chance to be part of something greater than yourself. Scan the QR code and stand with RAV. The story isn't over, and neither is your part in it. Step in, be counted, be heard. Together, we are RAV.
We will achieve American greatness. And we are just getting started.
This is Tim King, also known as USS Malik, and I love Real America's Voices for its like-minded programming and the chat. Love you guys.
Hello, this is Kurt. Why do I love RAV? You ever talk to the hosts? You can do that on RAV. And the RAV family, they'll talk back to you too. Let you know what's going on. Take care.
I'm Chris from Illinois, and we like to watch Real America's Voice in the War Room with Stephen K. Bannon for all the great guests. Everyone from Kerry Lake, the great Frank Gaffney, Trump 24, Retribution.
An ounce. Fast forward to today, and the U.S. dollar has lost over 85% of its purchasing power. Gold, on the other hand, has increased in value by over 12,000%. And that's why central banks are buying gold at record levels. It's also why major firms like Vanguard and BlackRock hold significant positions in gold, and it's why we encourage you to consider diversifying at least a portion of your savings with physical gold from the Birch Gold Group. It all starts with education, though. The Birch Gold Group just announced its Learn and Earn Precious Metals event. This free online event rewards you for learning the basics of investing in precious metals. Sign up to get free silver on your next purchase. You can get even larger incentives as you go. The more you learn, that's right, the more you earn. But you have to act now, as this special event only runs through April 30th, just a couple more days. The dollar lost its anchor in 1971, but you definitely don't want to lose yours today. That's why we encourage you to text the word America to the number 989898 and join the Birch Gold Group's Learn and Earn Precious Metals event by April 30th. Again, simply text America to the number 989898 today. Bates here with your Real America's Voice news break. Thanks so much for being here with us. Happening in just a few hours, King Charles of England will address a joint session of Congress as he tries to emphasize that the bond between the United States and the UK remains strong despite current political tensions. The King will likely highlight our country's shared history as we approach the 250th anniversary of America's independence from Britain. Right now, he is visiting with President Trump in the Oval Office. The First Lady and the Queen of England are also together right now. King Charles and Queen Camilla, by the way, are going to continue their trip of the United States here over the next several days. They will be in Washington, of course, for the next couple of days, They met with President Trump and the First Lady at the White House yesterday. I'm back at the White House right now. We'll have live coverage of the King's address to Congress coming up here in just a little bit on Real America's Voice.
Of generations. It's the Charlie Kirk Show.
All right, welcome back, everybody. America is entering its 250th year. I think it's kind of ironic, actually, that the president's hosting King Charles,
that is
Queen Camilla.
That is pretty funny.
250 years of throwing off the tyrants of the King of England. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. So, not a little irony there. But anyways, we have Patriot Mobile. That's one of the supporters of this show. Great sponsor, great people. And every day, almost, I tell you to give your business to them. And you should. You 100% should. Because when you support their business, you're not just getting great wireless service, because you are. They have access to all three major carriers, so you get the same service, if not better, by the way. And I have two networks on my phone, just in case you're ever without service in some area. You get to switch over. And they could do that for you as well. But because when you support them, you're supporting Christian conservative values all across the country. That's what's most important. We got to put our dollars where our hearts and our values are and where our faith is. They have 100% U.S.-based customer support. They can activate you in minutes. Keep your number, keep your phone, or upgrade. It's very easy. Still paying off a device? Patriot Mobile even offers a contract buyout option. This is a defining year, 250. We have to work together to save our country. Go to patriotmobile.com/Charlie or call 972-PATRIOT today. That's patriotmobile.com/Charlie or call 972-PATRIOT, 972-PATRIOT and use the promo code Charlie for a free month of service. Support the good guys. Give your money to the good guys. Make the switch today. You get all the same things that you have come to expect. Just you can feel good about it. So check it out, patriotmobile.com/Charlie. All right. Without further ado, we have a great guest here that is an aide to Melania Trump. So Melania has been in the news a lot lately, and we haven't talked about it a lot on the show. So Marc Beckman, he's the senior advisor to First Lady of Melania Trump. He's the CEO of DMA United, and he's the producer of the film Melania, which was a huge hit. So Marc, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
Yeah, we're honored to have you. You're also the author of Some Future Day, How AI is Going to Change Everything. So you're kind of a renaissance man. You're producing films, you've got your own agency, you've got a book, and you're the advisor to Melania Trump, First Lady Melania Trump. She has obviously been in the news because of what happened at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. I was there. I was hiding under a table. My first thought was when it happened, I looked up to the dais, to the stage, to see if President Trump was still there, if anything had happened to him. My personal thought in that moment, Marc, was, did they shoot Trump? Because I had no idea what happened. In the room, it was just mass chaos. So we didn't know what had happened. Did they rush the room and get an injured president off the stage? We just had no idea. And I instantly thought of Melania, and I thought of Erica. And then you see this Kimmel clip that comes out where he says, and we have it, we could play it, but then Melania issues a statement condemning it. It's not funny. Tell us about your relationship with her and how she's handling this moment.
Sure. So just, thanks for giving me a second to give you my background. I have a cross-discipline practice. I spend about 100% of my time, including weekends and holidays, working on behalf of the First Lady. What I do with her as her senior advisor is I handle all of the branding at the foundational level. I stand up all of her commercial enterprises, her philanthropy and humanitarian efforts, and then communications. And she and I have been working together now since before Barron was born. It's a long time. I've been involved, you mentioned, as a producer of the movie. I'm the one that structured the deal, and her books, her digital assets, fostering the future together. It's all projects that she stands up. They're all her vision. I give her, full credit. I'm grateful that she gives me the opportunity to work with her in this capacity. I have a cross-discipline background, so I was trained in law. I own an advertising agency, and obviously I do a lot of deals for my clients. So, through the years, I've worked with some very high-profile individuals and brands, from the NBA and Sony Music to Warner Brothers and Karl Lagerfeld, Tom Ford. Really interesting. But all of my efforts these days, without a doubt, hands down, are with the First Lady. And for that, I am very grateful.
That's great. So I'm going to play the clip here, Marc. I mean, you've got a really eclectic background with a lot of big, huge names and brands. And I love that you've given so much of your time and energy to the First Lady. She deserves it here. And again, we don't talk about her enough on the show. I'll be the first to admit it. But here is the clip from Jimmy Kimmel joking about the assassination or death of President Trump in some way. Pretty gross clip. SOT 13.
Our First Lady Melania is here. Look at Melania. So beautiful. Mrs. Trump, you have a glow like an expectant widow.
So she, of course, fired back, and she essentially said, ABC, when are you going to hold this man accountable? I mean, and I have my own personal gripe with Jimmy Kimmel, because when Charlie was assassinated, Kimmel lied about the nature of the assassin, calling him MAGA. The affiliates rebelled. He almost lost his job. When ABC Brass finally let him back on, he refused to apologize or correct the record. And he cried a lot, but he just totally dodged. So I think this guy's a scumbag personally, Mark. I'll put my own cards on the table. I don't like him, and I think he's bad for the country. But what do we do about it?
Well, I remember that moment, and that's part of why I am calling for Kimmel to be terminated from his role with the network. It's time for the executives in this network to realize that this is not an isolated moment in time. I don't understand why ABC and the parent company Disney would want to affiliate with a person who's spewing lies. He's divisive in nature. All of this negative political rhetoric is leading to more violence in our nation, as you're very well aware. And it's time for ABC to take a stand. I understand the First Amendment exists. I am all for free speech. I don't see this as a free speech issue. I see this as a moment in time where Democrat violence towards Republicans is on the rise. The data is in a Wall Street Journal article yesterday. It shows for the first time that Democrats' violence targeting Republicans, unfortunately, including, President Trump and Charlie Kirk, is now outweighing the amount of violence that goes from the right to the left, and this trend continues. And I think it's time for us to look at it and realize that words create actions, particularly when there are so many crazy people in the country now that look to leaders in entertainment, across culture, entertainment, fashion, art, music, sports, the government, politics. There's this ecosystem, including academia, where the Democrats are now just using the same vile hate type of speech against the Republicans, and it's ending up with violent action, and it needs to be stopped.
Yeah, and Mark, we're actually going to be breaking down that Wall Street Journal report in hour 2. We've got Batya Ungar-Sargon coming on. She's a host over at another network, but she's done a whole Substack on it. And I'll just say that, yeah, it's interesting that the Wall Street Journal shows that there's more left on right violence than the opposite. But what you find when you actually delve deeper into it is that some of the underlying data sets are completely skewed and faulty. They're attributing stuff to the right that has no business being attributed to the right, and they're leaving off huge swaths of left-wing violence that they're discounting for whatever reason because the researchers are biased and they don't want to reveal it. So the fact that even with a biased data set and a flawed data set that they're still coming out with the left is more violent against the right shows you a lot. And we see this in polling, by the way. If you do polling, YouGov, The Economist did a poll that showed about nearly 30% of self-described liberals, 18 to 39, say that political violence is justified. In some instances, only 6% or 5% of conservatives said the same. So, yeah, like political violence of any kind is unacceptable. But we have to look at the numbers, and there is a rise of political violence culture on the left. And it's coming from Discord chats. It's coming from Reddit chats. It's coming from, and the permission structure, as you're pointing out, comes from the media. Guys like Jimmy Kimmel. I love there was a quote from Greg Gutfeld yesterday, Mark, where he said, I don't think this guy was crazy, but he was hearing voices in his head. It was Ted Lieu, it was The View, it was CNN, it was MS Now.
Correct. The other thing is, why don't the Democrats look in the mirror? Don't you find it peculiar that with this set of circumstances, the only two Democrats, or let's say Democrats, politically oriented Democrats that have spoken out against this circumstance are Axelrod and Fetterman? Why is the entire Democrat Party lining up behind Mamdani, behind Ilhan Omar? And why are they so reluctant to speak out against a guy like Kimmel, who's creating divisive rhetoric that could lead to this type of terrible violence? Where are the Democrats?
Yeah, exactly. Here's what they're doing, by the way. And you saw this with the SPLC, right? The SPLC gets caught red-handed manufacturing hate crime to sell to its donors. Yeah. And instead of owning it, you got like the NAACP coming out defending them, other people defending them. So, but you see this now. George Clooney defends Jimmy Kimmel, SOT 36. Yep.
Jimmy's a comedian, and I would argue that Caroline Leavitt didn't mean shots should be fired. Right? right? She was making a joke. Fair enough. So I look at that side and go, well, jokes are jokes, but the rhetoric, I think, is a little dangerous, and we've seen it a lot lately.
Well, shots fired was in reference to the speech he was gonna give that night. So that's a ridiculous comparison, first of all. And to your earlier point, Jimmy Kimmel has a history of being an absolute grade A scumbag.
George Clooney definitely doesn't watch Kimmel, right? Kimmel isn't funny. Nobody watches him. His business model is a failure. And this is why I'm saying, for commercial reasons, it doesn't even make sense for him to keep continuing to hide behind ABC. It's time for ABC to strike.
Yeah, I totally agree. And by the way, I want to dive into this in the next segment with you, Mark, if you can stay. This idea, and Blake, you've got great POV on this as well, but the complete misunderstanding of what First Amendment is. Okay, yeah, he has the right to say stupid stuff. And I have the right, and you have the right, and Melania Trump has the right to say enough is enough. We don't like it. So hang right there, Mark, if you can. Just one more a few minutes. We'll bring you right back in. I want to tell you guys about All Family Pharmacy. These guys, I'm telling you, I'm a big believer in All Family Pharmacy because I have used it. And I saw how easy it was and how quickly it shipped. And I didn't need to go to a doctor and get a prescription. And anyway, I don't even have a doctor in Phoenix. It's another story for another time. But, you know, I haven't been here that long. I haven't had the time. I've been so busy to go get a doctor. So I went to All Family Pharmacy. A licensed doctor reviewed my request, and the medication that I ordered shipped straight to my door. They offer antibiotics, antivirals, Tamiflu, ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, mebendazole, methylene blue, and even your daily maintenance medications, and so much more. That's what I discovered. So if whatever you need, check it out. You'll probably get it for cheaper, and it'll get faster, and it just ships straight to your door. Go to allfamilypharmacy.com/Kirk. Use code Kirk10 to save 10% off your next order. That's allfamilypharmacy.com/Kirk. Use code Kirk10 for 10% off. We'll be right back.
Half protection is not enough.
When it's breaking,
we're moving.
Breaking news.
Breaking news.
News doesn't sleep. At Real America's Voice, we don't get to crash or lose focus. That's why we drink Soldier Fuel and take Go Pills to stay ahead of the chaos, because we do this for you.
Go Pills and Soldier Fuel locked in.
Go Pills are packed with neurotransmitter support. Soldier Fuel has no sugar, so no crash.
Now that's a game changer.
Mic on, lights up. Soldier Fuel keeps me dialed right in.
Both are used by the U.S. military every day.
Built by patriots for patriots.
And they're now available to you.
This is huge.
Scan the QR codes below and order your supply today.
Hear that pop? So good.
Go to buysoldierfuel.com or search on Amazon.
This is performance fuel. Clean energy, sharp mind. That's how we do it at RAV.
Visit buygopills.com and get 15% off automatically.
Go Pills
and Soldier Fuel.
Let's go.
Through every storm, every moment of uncertainty,
everybody needs to pray for Charlie Kirk right now.
RAV has stood strong.
We're not going to tolerate this stuff anymore.
Turn that anger into motivation to save this nation.
When we move together, there is power.
The cries of this widow will echo like a battle cry.
This is more than news. It's a movement.
This revolution of people taking their countries back.
A turning point. A chance to be part of something greater than yourself. Scan the QR code and stand with RAV. The story isn't over, and neither is your part in it. Step in. Be counted. Be heard. Together, we are RAV.
We will achieve American greatness. And we are just getting.
All right, welcome back. Having a great conversation. Really enjoying this with Marc Beckman, Senior Advisor to First Lady Melania Trump, the CEO of DMA United, his agency, and producer of the film Melania. He's author of Some Future Day, How AI is Going to Change Everything. Blake, I want to get you into this conversation, but Mark brought it up, I think, really eloquently about this misunderstanding of the First Amendment and how if conservatives say Jimmy should be fired from ABC, all of a sudden, oh, I thought you guys were pro-free speech.
Well, so
what's the distinction?
Well, I mean, so the First Amendment only legally restricts what the government is allowed to do on speech. So the government can't come in and say only this point of view can be voiced. Also, government spaces, as we're well aware, public universities, the university can't say, oh, this speech is subject to, you can only speak this in the dedicated free speech zone of the university. Not allowed to do that sort of thing. But anyone is allowed to say, I think that this host is a piece of crap and should be fired. Anyone is allowed to say, this show is bad and I'm not going to watch their network until they get rid of it. That's all completely allowed. I do think that as pro-free speech individuals, you want a culture of free speech, which is, I think, as a rule, for example, I don't think companies should go around aggressively firing people for what their opinions are.
Agreed.
I think Kimmel has shown a clear, first of all, Kimmel, I'm not sure he himself believes in this, and I think he's certainly distinguished himself as a piece of crap, so I wouldn't mind seeing him go.
Yeah, fair enough. I think that's well said. Go ahead, Marc.
Can I ask you? I just have a question. So, like, if you look at the issue of freedom of speech closely, you're both aware you can't run into a movie theater and scream fire. And the reason that type of speech is restricted is because, predictably, it will cause some kind of physical harm to those attendees in the movie theater. So I realize this is a little bit of a stretch here with Kimmel, but we are seeing assassination attempts and assassinations and political violence happening over and over and over again. So I'm a free speech absolutist, and I believe that we need a marketplace of ideas to allow for us to propel humanity forward. But maybe this call to have Kimmel restricted in this way can allow for us to find what's really critical right now. We're missing glue of the fabric of society. We're missing respect. If we can't agree to respect each other's differing opinions, how could we grow across science, healthcare, commerce, and beyond? We don't have respect for each other anymore. The Democrats look at us and they say, he's a Nazi, he's a fascist, and they call for more violence. Hakeem Jeffries doubled down on this just the other day, yesterday, I believe it was yesterday. It's too much. It's just too much. So at some point, who's going to lead the call for just respect so that we could have a true marketplace of ideas and propel humanity forward with innovation?
Well, I agree. I want to see a culture of respect. And as Blake has put it, I think eloquently as well on the show, that we need to see pure unity that's across ideologies against political violence. It has to be completely castigated at every corner, and we're not seeing that, right? We see like John Fetterman, like you said, and David Axelrod. That's it. Like, where else? Where is everybody? I will say though, that free speech, the oft quoted crowded theater yelling fire didn't they overturn that eventually?
Yeah, that's not the standard. I'm very happy that the United States, it has a standard of freedom of speech that doesn't fly in like any other country, even ones that we consider relatively Western. You go and you read the Constitution of like Germany, for example, and it will say the right to freedom of speech is absolute, except subject to laws that the government makes for, reasonable society.
And everything is hate
endlessly
speech.
stretched.
Yeah.
Our Supreme Court basically has said, unless you are calling for not even just violence generally, but an imminent act of violence. So if you were to say, let's go kill Andrew right now, that would be illegal. But you could even say, you can advocate, we should overthrow the government generally. And as weird as that might sound, I like that standard. And why? It's because it doesn't create room where a bad act of government, like say the Biden administration, can go and say, you're agitating for bad stuff, you're calling for violence, we're going to shut you down, investigate people. We have that shield
but I do think this imminent threat thing. So like, for example, I'm going to play a clip of Hassan Piker. This is him saying somebody's got to do it. I happen to think that this is beyond the pale. I don't know what the solution is, but I don't think it should be okay. SOT 19.
And you actually wrote about this, and it was a great video where you talked about, someone has to do it. See, when I say that, everyone knows exactly what I mean. Which is, I think that shows that there's a lot of anger, a lot of resentment, and untapped potential. Untapped revolutionary potential, as a matter of fact.
So this kid comes from a very wealthy, well-to-do family, and here he is, waxing poetic about the revolutionary potential of people calling for the assassination of President Trump. That's what somebody has to do, it means. Somebody's got to do it, right? And I don't think that's okay. I look at that and I'm like, that's incitement. And it doesn't meet the standard that Blake has laid out from our Supreme Court, but it pisses me off. Mark, your reaction.
I feel the same way. I mean, again, this is who the Democrat Party is getting behind now. We're seeing a fundamental shift with the makeup of Democrats. You know, so here, like you said, you have an individual who came, I believe he was born very wealthy in Turkey, had a lot of money, came to the United States. He hates the United States. He's constantly spewing anti-Semitic rhetoric, and he's calling for violence. Like, why do we need that? And the people who are listening, unfortunately, some of them, again, can't discern between reality and what is not reality.
Well, and they're laughing,
and they'll listen.
Mark. They laughed. As soon as he said it, they all laugh like it's some joke. The murder of the President of the United States is hilarious to these people.
It's insane. And sadly, you understand how critical, firsthand, you guys understand how critical it is for us to take a look and examine what's coming out of these people's mouths and who's on the receiving side. Because clearly, like, what happened to this guy, Allen, who attempted the assassination this past weekend? The guy's a teacher? Like, where is he learning that he should load up with guns, get on a train, drive across the country, check into a hotel, and then target our president and members of the cabinet? What is going on in our country? Where is he learning that from? He's a teacher.
Mark,
where is he learning that from?
He's learning it from The View and MS Now and Ted Lieu, exactly like Gutfeld said. I've only got 30 seconds left with you, Mark. I wanted to get to this, but if you had to say one thing about Melania Trump that you wish people knew about her, what would it be? I'm sorry it's so short, but 30 seconds.
Hardest working, most dedicated, proud first lady. She keeps talking about raising children above ideology, above prejudices. Groundbreaking. Take a look. I'd love to have a moment to share with you all of her achievements as it relates to domestically and internationally since this 47th presidential administration began.
That's awesome. Well, Mark, it's been a fascinating conversation. I don't think we got to the bottom of it yet, but we're working through it, and that's part of the process here. Mark, God bless you. Talk to you soon.
Thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate the time today.
Cliff Maloney joins us next, and then Batya on breaking down those crime stats we talked about. We'll be back in hour 2.
Losing your hair? Tired of hiding and looking older than you really are? With Bosley, you can get your real...
When it's breaking,
we're moving.
Breaking news.
Breaking news. News doesn't sleep. At Real America's Voice, we don't get to crash or lose focus. That's why we drink Soldier Fuel and take Go Pills to stay ahead of the chaos, because we do this for you.
Go Pills and Soldier Fuel locked in.
Go Pills are packed with neurotransmitter support. Soldier Fuel has no sugar, so no crash.
Now that's a game changer.
Mic on, lights up. Soldier Fuel keeps me dialed right in.
Both are used by the U.S. military every day.
Built by Patriots for Patriots.
And they're now available to you.
This is huge.
Scan the QR codes below and order your supply today.
Hear that pop? So good.
Go to buysoldierfuel.com or search on Amazon.
This is performance fuel. Clean energy, sharp mind. That's how we do it at RAV.
Visit buygopills.com and get 15% off automatically.
Go Pills
and Soldier Fuel.
Let's go.
Through every storm, every moment of uncertainty,
everybody needs to pray for Charlie Kirk right now.
RAV has stood strong.
We're not going to tolerate this stuff anymore.
Turn that anger into motivation to save this nation.
When we move together, there is power.
The cries of this widow will echo like a battle cry.
This is more than news. It's a movement.
This revolution of people taking their countries back.
A turning point. A chance to be part of something greater than yourself. Scan the QR code and stand with RAV. The story isn't over, and neither is your part in it. Step in, be counted, be heard. Together, we are RAV.
We will achieve American greatness. And we are just getting...
Moment of uncertainty.
Everybody needs to pray for Charlie Kirk right now.
RAV has stood strong.
We're not going to tolerate this stuff anymore.
Turn that anger into motivation to save this nation.
When we move together, there is power.
The cries of this widow will echo like a battle cry.
This is more than news. It's a movement.
This revolution of people taking their countries back.
A turning point. A chance to be part of something greater than yourself. Scan the QR code and stand with Rav. The story isn't over, and neither is your part in it. Step in. Be counted. Be heard. Together, we are Rav.
We will achieve American greatness. And we are just getting started.
Break. I'm Terrence Bates. King Charles is at the White House right now, and he's set to address a joint session of Congress in a couple of hours. Rav Chief White House correspondent Brian Glenn outside the White House as the royals are still on property at this point. Brian, good morning. Lots of pomp and circumstance that you're probably not used to there at the White House today.
No, Terrence, it's been a great day so far having the king and queen here at the White House on the South Lawn. That was complete with a flyover, a 21 cannon gun salute, and all the pageantry that you would expect from President Trump rolling out to his friends over across from the pond.
Obviously, lots of people wondering what the king is going to say before that joint session of Congress, but he did give remarks just a little while ago there at the White House, somewhat apolitical. Your take on what you heard?
Yeah, President Trump rather delivered, I think, a very disciplined message, a very disciplined speech. Didn't go off script very much, didn't get in the weeds, perhaps the political differences that President Trump has with President Starmer, or Prime Minister Starmer, I should say, in terms of policies, and really kind of gave the history of the love for the royal family. Joked with the First Lady about doesn't quite think he'll make the wedding anniversary of 63 years, but he was very admirable towards the royal family and talked about the history of his mom, even having a crush on the king at a certain time. But President Trump showing a lot of respect and a lot of discipline in that speech. Didn't get off too much on policy at all, but did what I think a lot of people here expected.
My apologies. Yeah, it was President Trump offering up those remarks, not the king. The king set to make those remarks here in a couple of hours before that joint session of Congress. What are you hearing from your British colleagues, who I'm sure have followed the king here, in terms of what to expect from those remarks before the joint session of Congress? I would imagine they will similarly be diplomatic and probably less political than one might expect, given that he's the king and not a head of state or a political head of state.
I would agree with you, and I think they would agree as well. I know that several of the colleagues have shared their thoughts and thought it was a very respectful speech. But who knows what to expect at 3 o'clock now? They just briefly, the king and queen just briefly left moments ago. And, of course, like as you said, 3 o'clock here local time, he will address Congress. That has not happened in a long time. So we'll see what that message is. And so maybe he dips his toe in a little bit of the policies and procedures. President Trump, Terrence, even jokingly saying that it wasn't procedural for the president to join the king on the Hill, but he said he sure would like to. So who knows? Maybe stay tuned to the Truth Social. Maybe President Trump pushes out a post here shortly saying that he would join the king on the Hill. But you never know what can come out of here at the White House. So we'll keep our eyes on that.
Absolutely. Brian, I'm curious what security is like. Given what happened on Saturday, I think it's a fair question. It's a question we've got to ask. I would imagine, security has got to be a little tighter, simply given the threat that we experienced on Saturday. And when you add in having another head of state, a royal, in town, that ratchets things up that much more.
Yeah, the security here kind of mirrors what we've seen before when you have a head of state at the White House. Now, walking up to the White House this morning, I did notice that the security was pushed out about a block with some snow plows and blockades. The roads are closed, so you can't drive anywhere near the White House. So there is an extra level of security that you would expect at a heads of state, especially following the events on Saturday nights. But I know talking to some colleagues here today, they feel safe and sound today, and let's just hope that that continues, as we always have a heightened security around the White House.
Yeah, absolutely. Brian Glenn reporting on the grounds there at 1600 Pennsylvania, otherwise known as the White House. Brian, we'll be checking in with you through the rest of the day, as there is still a lot happening there behind you. Thanks so much, B.
Thank you.
Of course. Once again, just a reminder, King Charles of England is set to address a joint session of Congress as he tries to emphasize that the bond between the United States and the United Kingdom remains strong. We, of course, will have live coverage of his remarks before that joint session of Congress live right here on Real America's Voice.
Life insurance is a wonderful asset, but what happens when you no longer need it, or you can't afford it?
When it's breaking,
we're moving.
Breaking news.
Breaking news. News doesn't sleep. At Real America's Voice, we don't get to crash or lose focus. That's why we drink Soldier Fuel and take Go Pills to stay ahead of the chaos, because we do this for you.
Go Pills and Soldier Fuel locked in.
Go Pills are packed with neurotransmitter support. Soldier Fuel has no sugar, so no crash.
Now that's a game changer.
Mic on, lights up. Soldier Fuel keeps me dialed right in.
Both are used by the U.S. military every day.
Built by Patriots for Patriots.
And they're now available to you.
This is huge.
Scan the QR codes below and order your supply today.
Hear that pop? So good.
Go to buysoldierfuel.com or search on Amazon.
This is performance fuel, clean energy, sharp mind. That's how we do it at RAV.
Visit buygopills.com and get 15% off automatically.
Go Pills
and Soldier Fuel.
Let's go.
Through every storm, every moment of uncertainty,
everybody needs to pray for Charlie Kirk right now.
RAV has stood strong.
We're not going to tolerate this stuff anymore.
Turn that anger into motivation to save this nation.
When we move together, there is power.
The cries of this widow will echo like a battle cry.
This is more than news.
Fox News decides Donald Trump is president of the United States. We've got our republic back, folks.
Let's go.
There it is.
Everybody should remember this moment. Look, I'm gonna echo Charlie from earlier. Remember where you were when this happened. Remember where you were when you realized that the Uniparty and all of these, just the establishment, you said it's time to actually participate. And look what you guys have done.
And if anyone deserves to get tears in his eyes, it's Charlie. I think we all agree.
I think Erica was chopping some onions or something in the break room.
No one has worked harder than Charlie for this.
We gotta hear some words here from you, Charlie. You put all this together, my man. Let's hear it.
I am just humbled by God.
It's all God. It's all God. God alone. God alone.
That's all I can say.
Decision desk has it. Pennsylvania.
It's done.
It's beginning.
That clip always brings me back and brings chills. Obviously, that was election night 2024. That clip has been seen hundreds of millions of times. And it was narrated by the great Cliff Maloney, a clip that I don't think any of us understood what it was going to mean and how it was going to be viewed and how many people were going to see it. Cliff joins us now. Cliff Maloney, author of the new book, Run Right, A Complete Election Playbook to Win. And I love this because I thought that clip was perfect, because I want everybody in the audience to remember where you were that night, as Cliff told us, how good it felt to win, how much work went into that. from Charlie, from Turning Point Action, all the way down from Cliff's own organization, working their tails off in Pennsylvania. And so, Cliff, I'm going to read from your website, and then the floor will be yours. You say, stop arguing online. Start winning in the real world. Learn the door-to-door grassroots tactics that delivered Pennsylvania for Trump and Arizona and Wisconsin. But, yeah, you were big in of Pennsylvania for Trump and how you can replicate them. For decades, the left has out-organized conservatives, flipping red seats and turning fringe ideas into law. The right has no handbook until now. Cliff, congratulations on the book. You wrote it with Joshua Lysick, and tell us about it.
Well, first, thanks for having me. I didn't expect to get a little teary-eyed in the morning, but every time you play that clip, I mean, you're right. None of us realized what that moment would mean. You know, and I always tell people why it was so fascinating for me is because it was everything that Charlie had built, and it culminated with the victory, right? It was kind of the 2016 win, okay, but then the 2020 loss, 2022 not being a great year, and everybody kind of pushing back for those 4 years under Biden to build something that would actually win when everybody told us we wouldn't, when everybody told us it was not worth the effort. But Charlie, Turning Point, Citizens Alliance, so many of these groups, that was the moment, right? It was the moment where everything kind of came together. And so I always look back and laugh. It wasn't like I practiced saying those things. But as you know, when you're on air, you can't have silence, right? Mm-hmm. And so, you know, I know you were producing, Andrew, but everybody else was in studio, right? I was remote in Harrisburg. I think Brett might have been in Wisconsin, but it was kind of silent. And I just said, you know what, let me step up and talk here. In that moment, you know, obviously, like you said, hundreds of millions of views, changed my life, really just put us in a different spotlight. Our partnership with Turning Point has only grown since then. So I appreciate it. On the book, you know, Joshua Lysick, great patriot, has written a couple books with Jack Posobiec, you know, approached me and we talked. And he said, look, he said, why don't we tell the story of all these election wins that you've had, whether it's dog catcher, state house, state senate, or the presidential race, and why don't we put it together? And we do a training for candidates. We call it Candidate Academy. And pretty much that was my entire playbook that we started with as an outline. And Justin Grice, who's my COO, he's my Tyler Boyer at Citizens Alliance. You know, we kind of put all these notes together. We worked with Joshua, and we wanted to put something together so that if people on the right were new to politics, they had a playbook to use that would teach them how to go from 0 to 100. And as I say to everybody, you can check it out at runrightbook.com, runrightbook.com. I tell everybody there's 3 steps. If you want to run for office, if you want to win, and you want to stay principled and effective, this is the book for you.
Well, I love that you say stop arguing online. Obviously, there's been some of that happening in the ecosystem. A wee bit, just a tinge, just a touch of infighting. You know, especially after Charlie. You know, we lost Charlie, and you know, it seemed like there was a vacuum, a void, and some bad actors have tried to fill it. But you're trying to keep us focused, which is what we're trying to do at Turning Point Action. You know, we're building the red wall. We're working with you on a number of different initiatives, Cliff. And you know, why don't you say? You mentioned Pennsylvania. That's where you predominantly spent most of your time in 2024. What did you learn there? What are the big learnings? Give us a little teaser what's in the book.
So here's the basics that no one really wants to admit on the right, and that is that we are no longer in the Karl Rove era of messaging. It is no longer what is the message to try to convert the persuadable voters. And Tyler talks about this all the time on the show. I'll give him a lot of credit for driving this message because it's true. The game has changed. It is no longer election day. It's not even election week. It's not election month. It's election season. Why does that matter? Well, one of the things in the book I talk about is the 3% plus 1. Okay, this goes back to the Karl Rove strategy of a general election that roughly 3% plus 1 vote will determine who wins in a general election. The math is still the same, but because of the rule changes, what I explain in the book is you have to go after the folks. Typically, you have about 12% of the population that are going to vote Democrat and 12% that are going to vote Republican. I'm talking in a swing district or a swing state. I'm not saying 12% of voters. I'm saying of the entire population. You now have to focus on increasing the partisan turnout because you have, in some states, 50, 60, 75 days of voting. And so I get to that in the book to explain to people, it's not about persuading or having the perfect message. You have to go find your people, register Republicans that are not likely to vote, and you have to make them likely to vote. How do we do that? Ground game. How do we do that? Actual relational organizing, getting people to understand, almost annoying them, if you will. We call it a reminder campaign, but that's the big shift. It's all about turnout, not about persuading.
You know, I have so many questions because people ask me a lot of questions about this. Sometimes I have to speak to the press or whatever about our ground game stuff. You know, it's interesting, and I want to get into this in the next segment, Cliff and Blake. Cliff, we have, you know, my mom lives in Nevada. She said, you know, she's registered independent. She said that her dumpster could have filled up. She could have filled up multiple dumpsters with all the, you know, the pamphlets and the handouts that were left at her door to vote Kamala Harris. And she, you know, threw them all in the trash because she was just so inundated and sick of them. We are still behind the left when it comes to organizing, when the canvassing stuff. I mean, there's groups like yours, ours, Scott Pressler, that are out there kind of putting it on the map on the right and changing the way conservatives think about it. But this is the question we're going to get into in the next segment. You can make the dog food, but you can't make the dog eat, essentially. And when do you get into that problem? So there is a both and here that we need to talk about. More with Cliff Maloney in just a minute, author of the new book, Run Right, a complete handbook for getting out the vote, guys. So check it out. I want to tell you about Blackout Coffee. I love doing the show in the studio. We're at the Y-Refi studio, which we love Y-Refi. The other reason I love it is because I got all the Blackout coffee I need. And we got Morning Reaper, which is my favorite, and Brutal Awakening. Those are my two go-tos. But they got 1776 Dark Roast, 2A Medium Roast. They've got instant coffee, that, you know, which is you just add water and you stir it. They've got all the things. But this isn't some corporate behemoth that burns your coffee. No names needed. This is an American company run by patriots that love their country, and they're dedicated to the best tasting coffee out there. So blackoutcoffee.com/Charlie. Use code Charlie for 20% off your first order. That's blackoutcoffee.com/Charlie. For an even better deal, sign up for the Blackout Coffee subscription. You get free shipping, earn free coffee rewards, all kinds of stuff just for drinking what you already love. blackoutcoffee.com/Charlie. Check it out today. Promo code Charlie for 20% off. We'll be right back.
The crisis inside Ukraine has reached a catastrophic.
When it's breaking,
we're moving.
Breaking news.
Breaking news.
News doesn't sleep. At Real America's Voice, we don't get to crash or lose focus. That's why we drink Soldier Fuel and take Go Pills to stay ahead of the chaos, because we do this for you.
Go Pills and Soldier Fuel locked in.
Go Pills are packed with neurotransmitter support. Soldier Fuel has no sugar, so no crash.
Now that's a game changer.
Mic on, lights up. Soldier Fuel keeps me dialed right in.
Both are used by the U.S. military every day.
Built by patriots for patriots.
And they're now available to you.
This is huge.
Scan the QR codes below and order your supply today.
Hear that pop? So good.
Go to buysoldierfuel.com or search on Amazon.
this is performance fuel. Clean energy, sharp mind. That's how we do it at RAV.
Visit buygopills.com and get 15% off automatically.
Go Pills
and Soldier Fuel.
Let's go.
Through every storm, every moment of uncertainty,
everybody needs to pray for Charlie Kirk right now.
RAV has stood strong.
We're not going to tolerate this stuff anymore.
Turn that anger into motivation to save this nation.
When we move together, there is power.
The cries of this widow will echo like a battle cry.
This is more than news. It's a movement.
This revolution of people taking their countries back.
A turning point. A chance to be part of something greater than yourself. Scan the QR code and stand with RAV. The story isn't over, and neither is your part in it. Step in, be counted, be heard. Together, we are RAV.
We will achieve American greatness. And we are just getting started.
This is Tim King, also known as USS Mallet, and I love Real America's Voices for its like-minded programming and the chat. Love you guys.
Hello, this is Kurt. Why do I love Rav? If you ever talk to the hosts, you can do that on Rav. And the Rav family, they'll talk back to you too. Let you know what's going on. Take care.
Hi, I'm Chris from Illinois. We like to watch Real America's Voice in the War Room with Stephen K. Bannon for all the great guts. Everyone from Cherry Lake, the great Frank Gaffney, Trump 24, Retribution.
Welcome back, everybody. We're about to continue our conversation with Cliff Maloney, but first, we are at the Y-Refi Studios, and I want to tell you about them. You can get 10.25% fixed interest. You can earn that much, 10.25% fixed interest if you are an accredited investor. You can invest from 1 to 5 years, and you can spread your investment over those terms to best suit your needs. When you invest in Y-Refi, your interest is calculated daily, so you can just check the dashboard, and you can see how much money you're earning, and you're paid monthly. And you have the freedom to take your monthly interest as income, take it off the table, or reinvest it, whatever you choose. We love these guys. They're great people, great patriots. They're not skeezy, they're not schemers. They do things the right way. They're completely devoted to helping students with their distressed or defaulted private student loan debt. And then they're completely devoted on the other side of their business to help accredited investors. So if you are an accredited investor out there, please consider them. Check it out. All you have to do is call 877-80-INVEST or visit them online at investyrefi.com. That's investyrefi.com. For complete details, make sure to review their private placement memorandum. Scan that QR code right there on the screen to view the disclosures at your leisure. Y-Refi, investing in America's future. All right, Blake and Cliff, I keep doing that. I posed the question, you can make the dog food, but you can't make the dog eat. And I referenced the example of my mom getting all of these Kamala pamphlets and handouts at her door, and they didn't work. So what is the limit and what is the role of canvassing and ballot chasing, as we call it, at Turning Point Action? Is it different than what my mom was experiencing with all the Kamala people? You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. And look, there's a great book out there called Get Out the Vote. The 5th edition has this whole chart that really lays out about 20 to 30 years of them studying this exact question, Andrew, right? They said, hey, we're going to go out and look at Republican campaigns, Democrat campaigns, independent, nonpartisan races. But here's the cool thing that their data shows. It takes about 200 pieces of literature, like your mom had dropped at her doorstep, right? No conversation, but about 200 pieces of literature to earn a vote that are dropped at the door. We call that a lit drop, right? When it comes to phone calls, it takes about 30 phone calls, conversations, not just the calls, 30 conversations to earn a new vote. But conversations at the door, it shows that 1 out of every 9 conversations at the door, you earn a new vote. That's the rub. That's the entire thing here. And that's why the door-to-door, the ground game, and this is what Charlie understood, it's what Tyler and the entire Turning Point Action apparatus understands, that's the missing piece. Now, here's the bad part. We're about 10 years behind the Democrats. Okay? The Democrats have 20 Turning Point USAs. 20. Right? Indivisible, Arabella, all the Soros money, the Tide Foundation. There's dozens of these organizations that understand the power of knocking doors. And that's where the right has to catch up.
Blake, do you have thoughts on this? Just as we're heading into the midterms here.
It's such an interest. It's like a psychological question. That's what's really fascinating about it is, as you say, like you can pour out the dog food. And I think what Charlie and what Tyler built is they've really recognize it's almost a lesson that has to be learned over and over, because I think the Obama campaign had similar discoveries, and then they go into abeyance because they're difficult, which is you can't just rely on mailers, you can't just rely on phone calls. Like the strongest thing is actual community, it's actual relationships. It's why Charlie would talk so much about the need for churches to get engaged and involved. He's looking out and saying, what are the institutions that have ties to people. What are ways you can actually grab people with something they will pay attention to, they will care about, and they're not going to care about mailers. They will care about people in their community, people they respect, people they love and want the best for, trying to get them involved in important elections.
Yeah.
And that's really what they built up with the, the action, the ballot chaser apparatus.
Well, and that's that expression, relational organizing. We don't think about that enough, and we don't think deeply about what that expression means. It feels like a one-liner. It's not. It's actually, you're inviting them to barbecues at the park, community events. You're taking them cookies. These things create a community tie, a relational tie. And sometimes you might even call it societal guilt or whatever, So when they ask you for, to have you turn in your ballot, the person's probably thinking, well, they brought me cookies. I should probably respond. It's deeper than a mailer. It's deeper than all that. Cliff, I want to turn our conversation over to what we saw in Virginia. Now, I got a phone call from somebody that people would know, and they were very upset about Virginia and felt like the apparatus on the conservative side, whatever it was, the RNC, whatever, didn't do enough in Virginia. What are our lessons there? And I would agree. We're spending $150 million to defeat a Republican in Texas, and we don't seem to have enough money to match the Democrats pound for pound in Virginia, which I think is a dereliction of duty. What are the lessons out of Virginia, and what are the takeaways?
Yeah, first, absolutely absurd. I mean, it should be a felony. What happened in Texas when you compare that to spending those resources in a state like Virginia where, we're now looking at 10-1. Look, Tyler made some comments publicly. I did too. I'll rehash those right now, which is in the political world, especially when you're a grassroots organization that is raising funds from investors that count on you for success, we've already announced our 2026 through 2028 plans. We've announced that we're getting involved with a partnership with Turning Point. We're going to be in Arizona with you guys. We're going to be in New Hampshire. We're going to be in Nevada. These things are announced, and we're out there trying to raise the funds and then execute the program. So when a new battle pops up, when a new opportunity, and people say, Cliff, who cares about 2028 if we lose all these seats in Virginia right now? And it's like, well, look, I can't kick every barking dog. I can't get distracted with squirrel. Like, let's focus on this. It's a shiny object. So what Tyler said is what I'll say, which is when this popped up, we went and said, listen, we have the manpower, but we don't have the money, right? We have to raise the money for the things we've already announced, the things we've committed to. So if the apparatus or the Republican consultant apparatus wants to funnel money, 5, 10, 15 million to Virginia, we have the manpower, we'll do it. But they were silent, right? They didn't step up. There wasn't money spent that should have been spent in Virginia. And so it is extremely frustrating to look at Ken Paxton versus John Cornyn. Obviously, I'm supporting Ken Paxton, great patriot. John Cornyn, total sellout, rhino. But it's like, when are we going to get to that point where donors say enough is enough? We're not spending money to defend the swamp, to defend what is the current status quo. We need to spend that money on real battles when they pop up. Because when that happens, we can all come in, we can all deploy all of our manpower to do those things, but it takes money. And right now we don't have that type of leadership, and the Republican consultant class should be in prison.
That's strong.
Strong.
I like it.
Well, and you brought up the Karl Rove kind of analogy earlier in our first segment, Cliff, and there is a pervasive consultant class that is bilking money right off the top. That's why people love to spend money on ad buys and media buys. And the canvassing is less sexy, it's less lucrative. And so guess what? It's the most important piece, but it gets left off because there's just not as much money to be made. And that's the sad truth. Cliff Maloney, Run Right. Check out his new book, Handbook to Political Success. We need to absorb it completely. Batya joins us next.
Life insurance is a wonderful asset, but what happens when you no longer need it or you can't afford it?
When it's breaking,
we're moving.
Breaking news.
Breaking news. News doesn't sleep. At Real America's Voice, we don't get to crash or lose focus. That's why we drink Soldier Fuel to stay ahead of the chaos, because we do this for you.
So good.
Soldier Fuel has no sugar, so no crash.
Now that's a game changer.
Here we go, all of us.
Wow, that's good.
I'm fueled up now.
Used by the U.S. military every day. Now available to you.
This is huge.
Built by Patriots for Patriots.
Now it's time for you to do the Soldier Fuel Challenge. Order Soldier Fuel. Film yourself cracking one open and taking the Soldier Fuel Challenge. Upload your video at soldierfuel.com/challenge and you'll be entered to win a free shipment of Soldier Fuel.
That's what I'm talking about.
Your video could also be featured on air. Just scan the QR code on your screen or go to soldierfuel.com/challenge to enter. Drink with the RAV Hosts drink, Soldier Fuel.
Let's go.
Through every storm, every moment of uncertainty,
Everybody needs to pray for Charlie Kirk right now.
RAV has stood strong.
We're not going to tolerate this stuff anymore.
Turn that anger into motivation to save this nation.
When we move together, there is power.
The cries of this widow will echo like a battle cry.
This is more than news. It's a movement.
This revolution of people taking their countries back.
A turning point. A chance to be part of something greater than yourself. Scan the QR code and stand with RAV. The story isn't over, and neither is your part in it. Step in, be counted, be heard. Together, we are RAV.
We will achieve American greatness. And we are just getting started.
Florida Sun Goddess here. Let me tell you why I love RAV. They let my voice be heard. They give me a platform for community so I don't feel alone. Thanks so much. God bless.
Hi, this is Kelly Renee from Northern California Hills, MAGA country. The reason I watch Real America's Voice is for the faith, the family, and the freedom. Giddy up.
Hi, this is Chris from Wisconsin, and I love Real America's Voice because we have great news and a great chat family. God bless all of you.
It's a celebration of the United States of America and the people who love her. Join Real America's Voice and Real America's Music for Celebrate Freedom, a one-of-a-kind live broadcast and concert experience at the iconic Marty B's in Dallas, Texas. From 4 to 9 p.m., patriots from across the country will come together for an unforgettable night, honoring faith, freedom, and the spirit that makes this nation strong. The entire event is live, kicking off with a powerful hour of worship, followed by a national broadcast hosted by Bo Davidson, featuring voices you trust like Ben Bergquam, and building into a full concert experience with performances from Wynn Williams and Ram artist Deepak, Natasha Owens, Celeste Kellogg, and more. This is an American Love Fest, and you are part of the show. Tickets are free, but you must register, and they will go fast. Scan the QR code now to lock in your spot before they're gone. Celebrate Freedom, presented by Patriot Mobile and Preborn. Let's celebrate America together.
Here with your Real America's Voice news break. King Charles of England set to address a joint session of Congress in about an hour and a half as he tries to emphasize that the bond between the U.S. and the U.K. remains strong despite current political tensions. Just a little while ago, he met with President Trump at the White House. 47 likely will not attend the King's speech on Capitol Hill, though.
He's going to be addressing Congress, and I'm going to be watching. I was thinking of going, but they said, I don't know, that might be a step too far. I would love to go. It's not supposed to be protocol, but I would love to be with you. But there, the direct descendant of King George III will speak to the direct successor of the very body that gathered in Independence Hall on July 4th, 1776.
The King will likely highlight our country's shared history as we approach the 250th anniversary of America's independence from Britain. Before his speech to Congress, the British monarch, though, as you just saw, spent time with President Trump in the Oval Office, and the president, of course, speaking and welcoming him to the United States. That's a quick check of your headlines.
Charlie Kirk Show, where truth lives.
All right, welcome back, everybody. If you're like me, you look at your supplements and you are tired of seeing artificial colors, sugars. You would probably love to know that what you're eating or what you're putting in your body is clean. It's good for you. And you probably should know more about something called phytonutrients. Phytonutrients are the naturally occurring plant nutrients found in whole foods that give them their color, their taste, and their smell. If you have phytonutrients, it's a good thing. If you don't, you fill it with a bunch of garbage and fake stuff. Okay? So that's a good thing. Phytonutrients are a good thing. Balance of Nature's whole health system supplements are a value bundle that includes their fruits and veggies and fibers and spices supplements, which gives you 47 ingredients, no relation to the 47th president, 47 ingredients of fruits, vegetables, spices, and fibers, and all of them naturally occurring with phytonutrients, loaded with phytonutrients that come with them every single day. So Balance of Nature takes produce through a specialized vacuum cold process that stabilizes the ingredients. They are then powdered and packaged with no binders, no fillers, or flow agents. So whether you've been on the fence for a long time or it's your first time hearing about them, I recommend that you go to balanceofnature.com and order the whole health system supplements as a preferred customer today. So go to balanceofnature.com. Check them out today. Phytonutrients, fight the good fight. That's what they say, fight the good fight. Excited about our conversation. Batya Ungar-Sargon is the host of the show Batya on News Nation, and she also has a Substack that she is really devoted to, and I give her a lot of credit for that because she's debunking the data claims that when people say most political violence comes from the right. This is something you'll hear ad nauseum from the left. She goes deep into the data. We haven't really done a deep dive, so I wanted to have her on to go through what she found. Batya, welcome back to the show.
I am so honored to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
No, thank you for making the time. I mean, I only hit you up this morning, and you were willing to be flexible with your schedule, so I thank you for that, because I just saw it this morning when I logged on to X. So I'll do a quick timeline for people. Charlie's assassinated. The Economist comes out with data that says, well, turns out most violence is right-wing when it comes to political violence. I've seen a number of people attempt to debunk this because there's a lot of flaws in it. Then the Wall Street Journal yesterday comes out with a report saying that, whoa, big bombshell, for the first time in history,
left-wing violence is more common.
Yeah, so look,
and it turns out that's even with all of the BS
but that's the point. It's more prevalent according to this new Wall Street Journal report, but that's still with faulty data. And you've broken it down on your Substack. I recommend everybody check it out. But Batya, explain what you found with this data set that so many are using, including the Cato Institute, to smear conservatives.
Yes. So there's actually three main sources for this fraudulent claim that the majority of the political violence in America comes from the right. And I want to just briefly go through each of them because they are so unbelievably flawed. So the three sources are the Prosecution Project out of the University of Cincinnati, the Center for Strategic and International Studies, which bills itself as nonpartisan, and then the Cato Institute, which of course is also supposed to be this nonpartisan institute. And they are all deeply flawed. All right, let's start with the Prosecution Project, which was publicized by The Economist in the wake of Charlie's death, okay? So as we are reeling from being the victims of left-wing political violence, The Economist comes out and tells us, oh no, sorry, you're wrong. It's mostly coming from your own side. But they are relying here on the Prosecution Project, which, guys, go check this out. I urge you to. The link is in my Substack. It literally does not have Charlie's assassination in its tally of political violence, nor does it have either of the, at the time, 2 assassination attempts on the president. It lists every single person who blocks access to an abortion clinic, but not a single person who vandalized anything during the George Floyd riots, did any kind of property damage, nor does it list any of the 24 Americans who were murdered during the George Floyd riots. Now, of course, maybe you want to say, well, those weren't political murders just because they happened during political riots, but the Prosecution Project lists every single person who was ever affiliated with the white nationalists, with the Aryan Brotherhood, any crime they do then gets listed as political violence. So, for example, 33 individuals charged in connection to a methamphetamine manufacturing and distribution network, that was classified as political violence on the right because they happen to be Aryan Brotherhoods. I mean, come on, these guys, these racists obviously just wanted some meth, right? But this gets classified, but not Charlie's assassination. All right, let's move on. So as you said, Andrew, the Wall Street Journal citing data from the CSIS, the Center for Strategic and International Studies, they have on their website their methodology listed, and in their methodology, just listen to this quote. While anti-Semitic motives are classified as right-wing, attacks on Jewish individuals or institutions intended as a response to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict are classified as ethno-nationalist. They literally created an entirely new category so that they could absolve the left of left-wing anti-Semitism. Like literally attacks on Jews and Jewish institutions, if they are done in the name of Palestinian freedom, the left is absolved of them. That becomes ethno-nationalist, which, by the way, is meant to fool you into thinking that it's on the right, right?
And of course, and as they said at the start there, they're just saying anything anti-Semitic, that's just definitionally right-wing. It doesn't matter.
Which is utterly insane because, as you guys know, of course there are anti-Semites on the right, but the right is fighting them tooth and nail, whereas on the left, anti-Semitism is being totally mainstreamed. Okay, briefly, because I want to get through this. The CSIS lists as its sources the Southern Poverty Law Center, which we just found out was literally manufacturing the hate it pretended to fight, and the ADL, which, as you guys know, is completely biased, uses public records and media reports to reach their numbers. The ADL, of course, saying 76% of extremism is from the right. If you're relying on the left-wing media to arrive at those numbers, this is not data, this is propaganda. And just very quickly, the Cato Institute doesn't include the 3,000 fatalities from 9/11, calls every incel a right-winger by definition, even though many of them are on the left now, fails to include any of the fatalities from 2020 Black Lives Matter rioting. And, you know, the Prosecution Project, anytime anybody defaces an LGBTQ thing listed as political violence, but entire neighborhoods that burned down during George Floyd, not a single mention in their list. So guys, bookmark this, because the left loves to use highfalutin, fancy credentialism to say what you're seeing with your own eyes is not true. We've all been seeing it, and we all know this is not a both sides issue. The political violence on this country is coming from the left, and they want the victims, which is the right, to assume responsibility for it, and we have to say no.
Yeah, no, man, that was well done. That was well done, and it is so important. I'm glad you brought up the Southern Poverty Law Center, because all of these groups, SPLC, ADL, those other groups that you named, they fit into this network, this process that the left has built up over decades, and it's sort of institutionally laundering their ideological claims. They've literally been doing this for decades. If you want classic stuff, after World War II, you have academics writing these books and creating institutions and just defining anything authoritarian or tyrannical is just definitionally right-wing. You'd have books like The Authoritarian Personality. It just says right-wingers are authoritarian. And they're continuing that through to today. When they have a nonprofit, when they have some organization with some PhDs or some flunkies who failed out of PhD programs on their staff, they'll produce these reports and they'll include, it'll have a nice PDF, it'll have, good graphics, they'll get it published in the, their work covered in the New York Times, or they'll say, here's how we're defining what extremism is, here's how we're defining what political violence is. And if you add enough layers to this, you're able to just kind of lie to the public and create this reality they want. And the reality they want is that always, by definition, political violence will be right-wing. Always, by definition, our violence is not political, or it's just speech, or it's mostly peaceful. And I love that graph you showed from The Economist is the most telling, where if you literally look at the year 2020, a year defined significantly by politically motivated violence.
From the
left. They're saying, actually, all the political violence that year, that was coming out. You can see the big peak is 2020, and all the violence is coming from the right. There's basically none of it from left. In fact, there was less left-wing violence in 2020 than in 2019, according to them, when in every single city in America, everyone was living in fear of what we all know was left-wing motivated political violence. You were worried that your neighborhood would get looted or burned down by BLM mobs. That happened in Minneapolis, it happened in Chicago, it happened in Los Angeles, it happened in city after city. Thousands of businesses looted, dozens of people murdered, and they just lie to our face. And in a weird way, I'm glad they went for that lie in 2020, because in a normal year, you can maybe get away with it. People aren't paying attention. They could say, well, actually, there's these neo-Nazi gangs doing stuff you don't hear about. But in 2020, it was so in your face, so over the top, was happening every day for months on end that it blows apart the scam. And as long as we can remind people of that, I think it's very difficult for them to keep getting away with it.
The lie is so egregious in 2020 that the jig is up. The propaganda is revealed purely because we all saw it, to Blake's point. We all saw it. I lived in Santa Barbara at the time, and now I'm a Phoenix native. Blake says it's too cold here and rains too much, which is hilarious. But it was crazy. We saw our property values shoot up overnight because everybody was fleeing Los Angeles and San Francisco to get away from BLM. They were all trying to get, they were businesses looted. You know, in Santa Monica, they were getting burned out and looted. So, I mean, it is a good point, Blake. The lie is exposed. If it's exposed entirely, the fact that you're going to claim all anti-Semitic violence when we saw the universities getting, captured by these pro-Palestinian groups, and yet that's supposed to be right-wing, or at this third category they created ethno-nationalism or something. Batia, we got so much more to get into because, by the way, Trump said mean things about some people that died, including Robert Mueller and Rob Reiner. So that proves that it's all coming from the right, and Trump had it coming. I want to get into that next because that's their new talking point. But in the meantime, this one's empty. So Strong Cell, it's empty because I did it. You know what? I'm doing another one.
He loves it.
Oh, that one's empty too.
You don't actually need to take several of them for it to...
I'm telling you, I have had a breakthrough, and I genuinely mean this. Mornings are so much better for me, and I'm so much sharper because of Strong Cell. That's my experience. No brain fog, no word recall issues. That's the benefit of Strong Cell for me. But it could be a lot of things. You might have chronic illness, chronic fatigue, anything you need. NADH. Power source for your cells. Go to strongcell.com, promo code Charlie for 20% off, and you get a 90-day risk-free money-back guarantee. So there's no excuse not to try it. It could be the breakthrough you're waiting for. We'll be right back with Batia.
Everybody hates Beth. She eats all the food she loves and stays slim. Kim starves herself.
When it's breaking,
we're moving.
Breaking news.
Breaking news. News doesn't sleep. At Real America's Voice, we don't get to crash or lose focus. That's why we drink Soldier Fuel to stay ahead of the chaos, because we do this for you.
So good.
Soldier Fuel has no sugar, so no crash.
Now that's a game changer.
Here we go, all of us.
Wow, that's good.
I'm fueled up now.
Used by the U.S. military every day. Now available to you.
This is huge.
Built by Patriots for Patriots.
Now it's time for you to do the Soldier Fuel Challenge. Order Soldier Fuel, film yourself cracking one open, and taking the Soldier Fuel Challenge. Upload your video at soldierfuel.com/challenge, and you'll be entered to win a free shipment of Soldier Fuel.
That's what I'm talking about.
Your video could also be featured on air. Just scan the QR code on your screen or go to soldierfuel.com/challenge to enter. Drink with the Rav Hosts drink, Soldier Fuel.
Let's go.
Through every storm, every moment of uncertainty,
Everybody needs to pray for Charlie Kirk right now.
Rav has stood strong.
We're not going to tolerate this stuff anymore. Turn that anger into motivation to save this nation.
When we move together, there is power.
The cries of this widow will echo like a battle cry.
This is more than news. It's a movement.
This revolution of people taking their countries back.
A turning point. A chance to be part of something greater than yourself. Scan the QR code and stand with Rav. The story isn't over, and neither is your part in it. Step in. Be counted. Be heard. Together, we are Rav.
We will achieve American greatness. And we are just getting.
All right, we are back with Batya Ungar-Sargon. She's the host of Batya, News Nation. Great Substack. But Batya, you call out this section here. I want to underscore it. This is from your Substack. And I have to read it because it's so absurd. So we're talking about the data sets that these groups are using to collate these big conclusions about how right-wing violence is so terrible and all this. There were 3 high-profile terrorist attacks in the United States in the first half of 2025, motivated by the conflict between Israel and Palestine. These include the April arson attack on Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro's residence, a May shooting that killed 2 Israeli embassy staff in Washington, D.C., and a June firebombing of a pro-Israel solidarity walk in Boulder that injured 15 demonstrators. In this data set, these attacks are classified as ethno-nationalist incidents rather than left-wing ones. Okay. The extent to which these people have to twist themselves into pretzels to sort of come up with the conclusions that they want to out of these. And to Blake's point, there's a whole network of NGOs that all feed off each other, and they're all sort of colluding together to propagandize the American people, and then their lackeys in the mainstream news media just go ahead and parrot the talking points as they're told. So it's all ridiculous. It's all a big lie, and I think you've underscored the point. And I'm going to clip that first segment you had where you were breaking it all down because it was powerful, Batya. But this is their new talking point. Trump said mean things about Rob Reiner and Rob Mueller when they died, which, by the way, we called out. We didn't think it was classy.
I think I said the Rob Reiner one was the worst thing President Trump has ever said.
Yeah, we were not fans of that. But at the same time, to make the moral equivalent here of, vigilante assassination culture that's on the rise on the left. President Trump never called for anybody to be murdered. President Trump never called for anybody to be, killed in the streets or something like that. Yeah, he says harsh things, but usually he's referencing in relation to using the system to prosecute somebody, hold somebody accountable, that they're, So what do you make of this attempt to put everything at Trump's feet, to make him responsible for 3 assassination attempts against him?
Just quickly going back to what you said about that shooter in D.C., Elias Rodriguez, who killed the 2 young people outside the Jewish Museum. When the police arrested him, he literally said, "I did it for Gaza. I did it for Gaza," and then started chanting free, free Palestine as though he were on a college campus. But to the liberal media and to these organizations, we will never know why he did what he did. It's just like President Obama.
Yes.
Straight up lying 6 hours after the manifesto of Trump's would-be assassin from the White House Correspondents' Dinner was published. President Obama tweets, "We still don't know what motivated this guy. We know. And you are lying because you know that it is your side that is implicated in it." It was a lie that was a confession, right? Because it proved that if he admitted that we knew the motivation, we would all know who was to blame. On your point about Trump not being nice, the proof is in the pudding. The bullets are only going one way. Only one side's rhetoric is being interpreted as a call to arms, and it is the left. Trump says gross things. Yeah, he says things that are beneath the dignity of the office. Nobody is then picking up arms and going out and trying to assassinate Democratic politicians. So the proof is really, it's right there before them. I used to be a lot harsher on Trump on the way that he tweets and he talks. I now see that as, I don't like it, but it is the other side of the coin of the things that I love about him, which is that he could care less what anybody thinks. He's going to do what he thinks is right for this country. We have to always remember when Trump started this, and even into the second term, he's not like some Democrat who had 50% of the political apparatus behind him no matter what he does. He had 0% behind him. When he showed up and said China's our biggest adversary, we're not going to have open borders, he was taking on both parties. When he said we're going to reshore manufacturing and impose tariffs, like, he was not getting support from his side to do that. So to me, you know, it's like, I wish that he was a little more dignified in how he expresses himself, but he isn't, because of the very things that I find most precious about him, which is that he does not care. He's going to do what he thinks, and he never stops to think, how is this going to come off? How am I going to be perceived by this? So I have a little bit more, but I think the most important point for people to remember is like, if what Trump is saying is as bad as what the left is saying, how come only Charlie Kirk is getting assassinated? And how come only Trump is trying to get assassinated? And how come all the political violence we've seen over the last 5 years is coming from the left? I mean, the proof is just right there staring us in our faces.
Yeah, well, and it's like, well, when has anyone ever had to worry, oh, I shouldn't live in this neighborhood, I shouldn't go to this place because there might be like right-wing violence that will make this place unlivable or derail? No one lives in fear that the Klan is going to ruin their neighborhood. No one lives in fear that the Aryan Nations or any other right-wing group, conservative group, whatever you want to say, is going to do it. Whereas you really do. People have changed what city they live in, what neighborhood they live in, because they know BLM, Antifa, whatever mobs that they get whipped up, they can make a neighborhood unlivable.
Well, put it this way. After Charlie was assassinated, you know, left-wing streamer Destiny, as he calls himself, said that conservatives need to be in fear of going out in public. He himself has fantasized about killing somebody that he disagreed with. He said he got really close to it, bought a gun, had maps, you know, and street maps all lined out and had a whole plan. And he said he just didn't do it because he was making too much money streaming, so it wasn't worth it. We've got Hassan Piker, who has called for capitalist blood to soak the streets red. He has mused with the New York Times about social murder and what these companies are doing to justify the assassination of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. He's campaigned with Abdul, Sayed Al-Sayed in Michigan, who's probably going to be a senator from the state of Michigan. And so he's being mainstreamed by the New York Times. We have pictures of these guys together, who's calling for, who's joking with about somebody's got to do it in reference to assassinating President Trump. So don't tell me that it's a both sides issue when you guys are platforming this joker, when you guys are this despicable human being, frankly, who is born in wealth and is musing about the wonders of revolution, which would be bloody, which would be murderous, which would be terrible. They want to destroy the country and the republic, and they have no idea what the heck they're talking about. It's disgusting. So yeah,
Andrew,
go ahead. Last minute to you, Batya.
They know that they're lying. So Jimmy Kimmel, bottom feeder Jimmy Kimmel, in justifying his disgusting joke about Maloney, says, well, I've always been against guns and for gun control. And it's like, excuse my language, but bitch, the people with the guns are not the ones doing the shooting, okay? The side with the guns are the peaceful side. Half the country is heavily armed, and the other side condones violence. They know that when they come and shoot conservatives are not going to shoot them back. They know that the people in America who have guns are responsible gun owners. So they are using what they secretly know is the kindness of their conservative neighbors against them to get away with this.
Yeah, and a rising trend of left-wingers who want to buy guns, not to hunt, not to protect themselves, but to go commit vigilante assassinations in the streets. Batya Ungar Sargon, thank you so much.
God bless and protect you and everyone watching. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. We'll see you guys tomorrow.
Losing your hair? Tired of hiding and looking older than you really are? With Bosley, you can get your real.
When it's breaking,
we're moving.
Breaking news. Breaking news.
News doesn't sleep. At Real America's Voice, we don't get to crash or lose focus. That's why we drink Soldier Fuel to stay ahead of the chaos, because we do this for you.
So good.
Soldier Fuel has no sugar, so no crash.
Now that's a game changer.
Here we go, all of us.
Wow, that's good.
I'm fueled up now.
Used by the U.S. military every day. Now available to you.
This is huge.
Built by Patriots for Patriots.
Now it's time for you to do the Soldier Fuel Challenge. Order Soldier Fuel, film yourself cracking one open, and taking the Soldier Fuel Challenge. Upload your video at soldierfuel.com/challenge, and you'll be entered to win a free shipment of Soldier Fuel.
That's what I'm talking about.
Your video could also be featured on air. Just scan the QR code on your screen or go to soldierfuel.com/challenge to enter. Drink with the RAV host drink, Soldier Fuel.
Let's go.
every storm, every moment of uncertainty.
Everybody needs to pray for Charlie Kirk right now.
Rav has stood strong.
We're not going to tolerate this stuff anymore.
Turn that anger into motivation to save this nation.
When we move together, there is power.
The cries of this widow will echo like a battle cry.
This is more than news. It's a movement.
This revolution of people taking their countries back.
A turning point. A chance to be part of something greater than yourself. Scan the QR code and stand with Rav. The story isn't over, and neither is your part in it. Step in, be counted, be heard. Together, we are Rav.
We will achieve American greatness. And we are just getting.
Sure, they spike you fast, then crash you hard. Fix it with Soldier Fuel, the official energy drink of Real America's Voice. Soldier Fuel was born in the military to solve a real problem. Troops were relying on sugary drinks that wrecked performance, so they built a better option. Zero sugar and steady energy, powered by caffeine, taurine, inositol, and extra B vitamins for clean energy and focus. No roller coaster crash. This isn't gas station hype. Soldier Fuel was built alongside the U.S. military and proven where it counts. Used by American soldiers and elite special operations.
This is really good.
And when you fuel up, you give back. 15% of profits go to pro-military charities. Scan the QR code, search for Soldier Fuel on Amazon, or go to buysoldierfuel.com and get an automatic 15% off your entire order.